Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Admadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome. We begin today from the verse 12. I feel better today. I slept better and have been busy. These discriminated ones are full of vain hopes, vain pursuits. First, he was saying that these morons, these stupid people, they can't understand my higher nature. Therefore, they attach to my lower nature. So we are seeing that it's better to attach to Ishwara's lower nature than attaching to the world of people, things, and situations. Now. Events and so on. So now in this verse, he carries on. He's being less offensive to the Sansari, yeah, Anyani, saying that they are indiscriminate people. They have vain hopes. So the hopes they are empty because they will never deliver. They will never deliver. Yeah? Vain pursuits, yes, they they don't deliver those pursuits, those hopes. Vain knowledge. Vain knowledge means what? Means wrong knowledge, not good knowledge. We remember my good friend there from Southern California, the husband of my first wife. He stayed away for some time, and then he sent me a message today saying, "Oh, I stopped sharing things with you because I don't want you to feel that I'm trying to educate you or teach you something, blah, blah, blah. But this is something that we need to remember and never forget, blah, blah, blah. Listen to it with attention." And then I listened to it. It's more of this wrong knowledge, bad knowledge, talking about the law of attraction. You need to want things, pursue things, desire things, believing that you already got it, believing that you already have it so that it works. Okay, if you search for Sima for everything and believing that you're in luck, you are not going to get. So you need to fully believe that no, it is already here. There is some intrinsic truth to it. Everything is available, but it's not because you stop desiring that it manifests in your life as a gain. It's according to this huge karmic equation law that somehow fructifies some of your wishes and desires, as gains. So he sends me these things like that. And I say, no, I'm sorry, but you don't talk to me. You don't share things with me anymore because everything, and most everything you share is wrong knowledge. Is bad knowledge masquerade as good knowledge. You understand? And I expose every time and you get frustrated. But there is some truth because in terms of the ultimate gain, which is self-knowledge, you need to make a huge effort to prepare, to mature, to develop, purify, refine the mind. And then when you come up there, it comes a point that you have to surrender. Okay? From the point of view of science and scientists, scientific minds, they make a huge effort to break a problem until they get to the solution, and then the effort creates certain stress and expectation, and then they go to the bus stop, they relax, and then there is the famous eureka moment. So sometimes you need to let go, but only after you have put so much effort in all the fields, yeah, for self-knowledge, the knowledge in respect to the true nature of reality, and in respect to gaining knowledge that allows you to accomplish your worldly desires, gains. No? So let's see. I'll see if he's going to be offended again. So Krishna Ji says these indiscriminate ones are full of vain hopes, vain pursuits, vain knowledge. So it's bad knowledge. Fragments of some knowledge mixed up with a lot of bad knowledge, wrong knowledge, vain knowledge. Huh? So how are you going to tell people your knowledge is bad knowledge? I mean, the people they wrapped up their sense of identity around those mistaken knowledge. To tell them this is not really good knowledge. I'm saying very openly to this guy because I tired of trying to deal with Bill in a more soft way. I'm trying to get rid of him, but he keeps coming back. So vain knowledge, knowledge that's never going to deliver what you really want. So, I mean, Krishna Ji says they take to rajasic and tamasic nature. So they operate from their rajasic nature, going, doing, getting frustrated, and then falling into tamaguna, and then they believe now I just give up. Maybe the universe is going to provide me, and then the universe does not provide, and then they go to rajasic, Huh? They are trying to do sadhanas, and then setting back, and they remain deluded, okay, deluded and hopeful, hope for a miracle. But miracles do not exist because this is a very, very precisely well-designed universe which obeys certain laws. And our efforts are fundamental for the results we're gonna we sue our actions and we reap the results. And this one I think now I learned once for all. Krishna is talked about samsara karana, the very case, the very cause of samsara in the 11th verse. Now in this following verse, Krishna is talking about various types of people who approach the problem differently. Most people approach the problem without properly diagnosing the problem. There are different kinds of people. Some people approach the problem sensibly and intelligently, wisely, because they have been in contact with the scriptures due to good, punya karma, spiritual punya. So they are intelligent people. They are wise people. There are a lot of intelligent people, high IQ people that they can never diagnose the problem because there is a vast difference between wisdom and high IQ. So since they have diagnosed the problem due to punya, spiritual punya, contact with the scriptures and the guru, and having a good mind, they have taken the logic, scrutinized the knowledge, the information and the teachings, and then it passed the test, the intellectual test. So no, it's impeccable. So therefore, I know that the problem is not there in the field of objects, The problem is not in my my body mind sense complex that runs to gain, retain. Maybe I should learn how to maintain and retain things more. When I have an accomplishment that fulfills me, I have to learn how to keep it. So they can look at different ways to solve that problem, but they never come to the fundamental question, which is the problem is due to my wrong identification with the body mind, which makes me feel incomplete, inadequate, limited, uh, and uh, and then I begin leaning and depending on things of this world that I want to gain and maintain. Nothing can be maintained. No, nothing. No position. No status. No people around you. Everything goes, and your body will go as well. So everything is perishable, and to lean on perishable things is a problem. Swami often says, uh, emotionally or psychologically, don't lean on anything. So he makes it emotionally or psychologically to point to the fact that you may lean on your in your house. You may count on your car to go to work, knowing that it may break on the way. So you can have things. You don't need to get rid of everything, but psychologically, never allow the the conclusion that you depend on all these things for your inner happiness. That is the distinction. So, and then the first step is what? Is then learn to transfer this dependence on people, things, events, and parabada, status. You just transfer this psychological dependence to a psychological dependence in Saguna Ishwara. So you're gonna lean on Saguna Ishwara to find a sense of security and protection. You are no longer going to lean on people, place, times, events, circumstance. You're gonna lean on Ishwara. Yeah. Oh, so what does that mean exactly to lean on Ishwara, depending on Ishwara, counting on Ishwara? So can you two try to elaborate it?
It means to know that Ishvara is the controller of everything and the controller, the giver of our karma as well. And so, therefore, um, knowing that, we depend upon that rather than on the objects which are always changing and on a world which is very flexible and moving and changing all the time. So, we depend on this solidness of Ishvara, which is always present wherever we are.
I couldn't have said it better, Mark, but let's see. Lynn may be able to say it better.
I don't think so. But what I take as Ishvara is the order of the manifestation, and having Shraddha in that order relieves great fear.
Very well said as well. Very well said. Because a lot of the time it remains vague in the mind of people to say you need first to transfer your dependence on people and things of the world to Ishwara. But Ishwara is not an entity with a physical body, it is the supreme intelligence. So how are you going to lean on the supreme intelligence? By understanding this entity called Ishwara and developing Shraddha, as you said, that this order is always going to provide what's the best for me. Okay. So basically, depending, transferring your linear or dependence on Ishwara is to to transfer your interest and dependence on the scriptures on karma dharma. Because once those scriptures, those knowledge are well internalized, and then the problematic of samsara, why? Because we lean on people, things, and events of this world, what? To pacify our mind, right? To get a sense of security and satisfaction, peace. Yeah. Oh no, now I'm okay. Now I every day a new news, something, it's a new event. So I try to lean and then say no, try to lean on Ishvara. But what is Ishvara? Oh, it's a supreme intelligence. So how am I going to lean on the supreme intelligence? Or count on it. So try to understand it. It will pacify your mind. Because after all, you are being attached to people, place, and things as a means to try to pacify your mind, to experiment peace. You're going to experiment peace by understanding the nature of the Creator. Once you understand the nature of the Creator and your relationship with all of that, and then you gain a pacified, peaceful mind, okay, as a good karma yogi. And then transferring your dependence to God and transferring your dependence to the teachings that reveal the nature of your relationship with God, because that alone, that in the first stage will resolve the problematic of samsara. Okay, so that's the first level. Now, and then Swami says here, so learn to lean on the Lord Saguna, and that later on you can transfer your dependence to Nirguna, Ishvara, which means no dependence, because now your mind is farther, much farther pacified, and in peace and confidence and gratitude and so on, by the understand that there is only consciousness and I am of the nature of consciousness. And then you can even see Shwara as a superimposition on consciousness. Everything is happening, you see consciousness, and you see all of that. You still have this beautiful relationship with the Creator, Saguna Shwara. But now you have another layer of defense against the sickness of samsara, which is the knowledge and respect of the true nature of Saguna Shwara, which is Nirguna Shwara, or Nirguna Brahman, which is the Nirguna Atma, which is my very, very nature, because it's one without a second. It's the only reality. And then you have two layers of knowledge that protects one's against the mental disturbance, psychological suffering, grief, and so on. So common in the human experience. So, and that is said to be independence to self-dependence or independence. So I have to change objective dependence from the world to God. That means I'm going the right direction. Don't stop there. If you remain attached to Saguna Lord, you're going to feel much more pacified. But when you leave this physical body, you're going to have to carry on your journey, the individual journey of the individual soul, and you're going to go to a higher heaven, higher loka. There you're going to enjoy the pleasures of heavens. Yeah? And then once you exhaust your punya account, you have to come back until you learn that this clear understanding of the nature of Saguna Ishvara will produce at the most peace and satisfaction while reincarnated, but it's going to bring you back here again once you exhaust your credit, punya credit in a superior loka. So people say, no, I would sign up for that. Yeah. Going, coming back, going, coming back, going, coming back.
Yeah. I have a question. It's always seemed to me very problematic that you go to a higher loka and you take your punya and you bring that down. So then doesn't the balance of your sanchita always have to be even more balanced toward papa? If you're reducing your punya, you've still got all the papa that was in your account.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point, because if you go there to exhaust your punya, as you said, so your bank account, your karmic account is going to be reduced to more papa than punya. And then that is the moment that you need to come back to work to produce more punya, you know? And then you come here with a certain degree of ignorance. Well, what to do? Our scripture do not elaborate much on this nuance of these mystical points, but that's what we say. They say the scripture, and I just take it as an indication that there are some different levels of heavens, as well as there are different levels of hells. And we can infer that to be a true statement because we experience different degrees of heavens and hells in our minds over one day or week. You can see, oh my God, I went through hell, I came back to heaven, you know. So those celestial locus, they are placed with where our disincarnated mind is going to resonate in harmony with, you know, it will be how you say, uh, resonance, you know, compatible with that order. And then we go there, and then as you said, you go exhausting those punyas, and then you start becoming a little bit more tamasic and rajasic because punya, it depends on a lot of sattva. So, and then your soul start having a little bit more rajaguna and tamaguna. And the other day I was speculatively saying like one is launched on a higher locker, and I remember inside I have, and then they start just exhausting this locker. Suppose I am in the fifth or sixth locker, and then once I got a mind that is not as sattvic, it does not have that much punya anymore, mental punya. And then naturally, boom, I drop to an inferior realm, you know, and then boom, I drop to another lower level until Ishwara wraps me up in a new physical body to come to the third dimension, the dimension in which we live. So these are all speculations, of course. Swamiji often says, we don't know. There is nobody coming back to tell us or cannot be verified and so on. So Vedanta does not care much to these esoteric things. Okay. What do we do? When one perishable thing or person, oh, I crashes my car, oh my God, I did not even finish paying it. It was the case with my son. Total loss, crash with the car, had to buy another one, having still a lot of debts on that car. Things happen. Shit happens, as we say in the USA. So if I lean on a perishable object, I will suffer when that goes away. But then immediately they switch to lean on another perishable object, another car, almost new, financed in 5 years, higher monthly payment, and all is good. Debit is good. So people go from one thing to another. Oh no, I quitted smoke, and now I'm into doing some other addiction. And now I'm just showing some leaves. We go from one dependence into another. All these things are not going to deliver. They are going to produce what? Attachment, independence. So we should learn from those difficult, bitter experiences. See, Krishna says in this verse that people never learn. Let me read the verse again. They remain deluded. They have minds without enough discrimination. The most precious things we have is our intellect and its discriminating faculty. So, but people do not utilize it because their mind is dominated by Rajaguna and Tamaguna and deludes them. Delusion is the ultimate symptom of the sickness of samsara, in which our discernment, discrimination faculty is compromised, basically. We can discern the truth from the lies, the dharma from adharma. I can discern what kind of thoughts and actions is going to facilitate my spiritual evolution from those. Yeah. So, or even if I have a good discrimination, no, this is going to be very bad to me, but who cares, you know? I'm going to have a little bit more of that. So, Krishna says that most of the people are dumb people. And how does it happen? The details are beautifully presented. The human pursuit, any form of human pursuit, has to go through 3 stages. A human action, yeah, has got 3 stages: janati, ichati, and yatati. So 3 stages before we act. The first stage is knowing activity. Before any activity, I should have the knowledge about the action and what I may get as a result from that activity. Therefore, knowing the action, the activity is the first place. Early morning, I see the newspaper to decide what I will do about my day, or I don't know, people still read newspapers in India, Swamiji. I heard that even nowadays he still reads the newspaper. Isn't it so? You went there 2 years ago, Mark. He still reads the newspaper?
Yeah, I used to read the newspaper. The Indian newspapers are great fun to read. Lots of good articles. So they're still very common there.
Yeah. So today is Sunday. What should I do Sunday evening? Therefore, you go through, you know there are different programs and so on. So you have to know things, to choose what kind of course of action you take in that day. And several things, you decide one particular goal. Jnana, knowledge, gives way to icha. Any desire is based on knowledge. So the first thing is you need to have an idea of what you want. That desire, that knowledge about what you want is going to give way to a desire. Okay? Now, icha means desire, huh? So it's going to give way to a desire. We can never really desire things unless we know and we somehow value. Sometimes we desire things that destroy us, but somehow there is some built-in value or pleasure in get self-destruct. Like heroin junk gets some degree of release and pleasure, and say, it's okay, my life is worth almost nothing. Even if it kills me in a few years, I enjoy it. So we have the first step, knowledge, and then the knowledge is going to allow me to choose what I want from what I do not want. So can you desire something that you have no clue, no idea? No, of course. Knowledge should come first. I should have known it either from the books, from the testimony of someone, or from my sensory experience. So, and you need to discriminate. Swami here brings about a radical example. Oh yeah, I have a knowledge of what it is, toxins and poisons. I know that. So whatever you desire, you know, but not everything that you know you will desire because you're discerning. But a lot of the times we know things, we know that that is going to destroy us in the middle long run, but yet we desire. I have seen it with my heart halfway broken, not really broken, by seeing there in the apartment of my son, their lifestyle and how much junk they eat. And that is being transferred to the child, my grandchild. I try to, without upset anyone, point out that that is extremely poison and junk and detrimental to one's health. So, but people get hooked with the pleasures of those junk foods. So and then I discovered that my son knows a lot about how harmful those things are. But how are you going to break that vasana? So it's not that everything that you know you desire, but everything that you desire is a must-known object. Therefore, knowledge, jnana, gives way to desire, and desire gives way to action. Yeah? 3 levels: knowledge, desire, and action. So jnana shakta to Icha shakta to Kriya shakti. Throughout the life, this is the process. So therefore, all our pursuits begin at the cognitive level. And people overrate knowledge at the cognitive level. They say, no, no, no. My knowledge is based on intuition or on feeling. Okay? So it has to be intellectual, cognitive, knowledge-based understanding. So that's where it should begin. The first level is to get a discriminative intellect in good shape, shining with dominance of sattva guna, so that we can make good conclusions. We access situations and we get good conclusions. So, and it's not always easy. Because as James used to say long ago, before 10 years ago or more, when he started having heart problem, and he said, no, it's not my fault. It's because at the time they were saying that junk food was good. A lot of eating, a lot of carbs was good, and fat was good or whatever. So, of course, science can at times, for one reason or another, tell something such as egg is very good, and then after 10 years, no, egg is very bad. No, it's very good. You can have 5 or 10 per day. So every scientific knowledge is subject to revision, as we know. But overall, we have to use our intellect to navigate through all these different knowledge or assessments of modern science. And nowadays, it's difficult to believe in science because the whole system is being corrupt. So good science is said to be bad science. Bad science often is said to be good science. So we are a little bit like in a difficult here. So, but anyhow, the point here Swami talks a little bit about that here. So let me see. If I do not have proper knowledge, understanding of things of this world, the possible course of life, if I do not clearly understand, Jnana Shakti is abused. Isha Shakti will be abused, and Kriya Shakti will be abused. So this abuse is like, it's more like misused. If I don't have proper understanding of situations as they unfold every time in a slightly different manner, so I'm going to use my Jnana Shakti, and but not having really full access to the situation because things keep changing. And I have my biases. I have what I believe to be a good scientific knowledge from before. And then there is room for mistakes. Yeah. And then Jnana Shakti is misused. The desire, Shakti that produced the desire is going to be further misused because, I'm sure that that's going to be good, and then my desire grows. Oh, a simple example. When I began this project here, because I always had this culture of preparing for the best possible scenario on this world we live. Since I was very young, I was in contact already with prophecies and with changes in the planet and activities in the sun and so on, the sea level, and so I was attracted by this field of knowledge that is often discarded as this crazy conspiracy theories. Yeah. So, but I always have a certain contact, not much. My main effort was spiritual, to get self-knowledge. And then I come here after seeing what was happening at the beginning of this health crisis. I did not buy in most of what was being said by the establishment. But without going to the details, I came here to prepare a piece of land, as an idea of self-sustenance, more or less like you do, Mark. And then I was like, so I'm sure that having so many students in Brazil, some people may understand, may have a vision such as mine, and join me to help me to develop this project. And that was 4 years ago. So I got that idea. Sylvia, in some sense, some instance, she's wiser than me. She started laughing and said, nobody's gonna come, you fool. Nobody's gonna come. I said, they will come. And then I started developing, showing to people that it's possible, and so on, showing to people that the new society and world is going to be a digital prison, and you're going to have to be monitored, controlled, and it's basically a compromise of one's freedom of thoughts, actions, and ideas. So yes, freedom to think individually, collectiveness. Everybody has to be robotized, and this digital system is creating this digital prison. I said, I'm not going to fight the status quo. The establishment is so strong. I'm going to try to step outside and create my own environment because I'm not going to be part of this new system. Most people believe I'm crazy. Ramji thought that, Arlindo now has some crazy ideas. He believes in conspiracy theories. So, all is good. That was not at all the reason that I moved into Swami Paramarthananda. I moved into Swami Paramarthananda because I considered him far superior teacher than James. So, but going back to my story, I start creating that with great enthusiasm. You know? I have access that is a good thing to do, and people will come. And then enthusiasm was so big, and then I start working hard to build it, and then the actions were very big. The desire was very big because intellectually I have determined that that was the best course of action. And I have determined that people were going to join me to help me to do a small piece of land that could live outside of this system and help me to take care of this aging body and the house. Yeah. So what happened? No result. Yeah. No result. My assessment of the situation was wrong in the sense that people still believe that everything is going to be good and okay as always. They don't see any needs of stepping outside of society. And most people do not have a karmic condition that allows them to step outside of the system. No? And those who has a karmic condition, because it was enough 2, 3 people coming here, I was accommodating them with what space I have. And then we could take care of the house, my aging body, and cultivating some food and cleaning the fish and so on. So nothing just happened. So on the cognitive level, I made a wrong assessment. I developed what? A wrong desire. My desire was not based on a proper, correct assessment. And then I put the wrong actions, it was based on the wrong assessment that produced a wrong desire. Nothing's really black and white, right and wrong, but Silver was trying to tell me, be careful because people are not going to come. So now, as if I have misused or mistrusted or trusted my intellect, which was not making a proper assessment of the whole project. Well, Krishna says that many people, they don't have enough information. They are uninformed. They don't understand because only Shwara has the entire picture of knowledge. And in the spiritual angle, they do not study scriptures. That is why spiritual study becomes very fundamental necessity to get a proper direction in life. And I was studying the scripture, teaching the scripture, living my life according to the scripture. But on the practical, physical level, I was illustrating my delusion of beginning a project. The good thing is that the whole project, the whole energy, the whole design, none of this was a buying desire. So I have everything here and so on. And lately, Sylvia is telling me, you can't stay because time was going by. Now she's 3.5 years living away. And I was hoping that they were going to pave this road. So she used to say that if they pave, she would come back. But lately she says, no, even if they pave, I don't come back. And then I was waiting to see if some people are going to come to join me. And this year I turned 70. It's a lot of work for me. And now, because it's not a binding desire, binding action, I'm okay with, rearranging further actions, such as, selling or put this place for rental. Okay. So I'm more into turning this place into an Airbnb if I find somebody reliable, because that would help me to get this money. And with the rental we pay with Sylvia's place, find a larger home in Alto Paraíso so that I can try to live under the same roof with Sylvia. So there are all the solutions. If you are not really totally attached to your assessments on the knowledge, emotional, and action level, you just take everything as prasada, an opportunity to redirect your life, your effort, accepting everything. Lord Krishna described Ishvara Svarupa, the nature of God, his beginning anew. Next class. Lord Krishna described Ishvara Svarupa, the nature of God, from verse number 4 up to verse number 10 of the 9th chapter, and especially the higher nature of the Lord. And the 11th verse, Krishna pointed out that the ignorance of the higher nature is the fundamental problem of samsara, the psychological suffering. How can the ignorance of the higher nature of reality, the higher nature of the self, the higher nature of God be the cause of samsara? Because the higher nature alone is beyond time and space, and I have to identify the higher nature of this apparent order so that I claim that to be my nature, and then I'm insulated from what happens in this inferior apparent nature. So how to find an analogy to describe this? Now it came to my mind that I need to find an analogy. So we have a situation here that we all live through our inferior nature, yeah? Apara prakriti or body, mind, sense complex. And we are bound by time and space. We are finite and limited in every sense. Everything is decaying around us, including our instrument of experience. And that gives a sense of fear, desires, persecuted, frustration, anger, and a lot of other problems that at the very end destroys our discriminating faculty. So how I'm gonna go and resolve this problem? It says you have to understand your higher nature because it's outside of Mithya, it's outside of Maya, outside of space, time. But this nature is something that I can understand cognitively. I cannot go there to see from that angle outside of space time because I only have mental, intellectual, and sensory assessment when I stand in Mithya. So the solution is said to be you need to stand in Satya, your higher nature, beyond time and space, to enjoy this sense of freedom while still standing in Mithya. Literally, physically, you're standing in Mithya, but you have to stand cognitively in Satya to understand your eternal, free, true, independent nature. And then again, you have to recognize that you're going to be standing Mithya all the time. So in Mithya, you start standing Mithya, knowing that your body mind is very vulnerable and insecure, but because you got the knowledge of your true nature as limitless, non-dual consciousness, the only reality. So this shift of identification from the body mind to consciousness allows me to stay in my inferior nature because I have to exhaust my prerogative without the fear because fundamentally I am the king. So how can we create an analogy? Please help me out here. Let's suppose so I'm playing here uh, I'm playing here to be a fellow developing a piece of land to grow vegetables and this and that. And then something happens. I lose everything. Okay? I lose everything. But why it's not going to affect me losing? I don't know if this is a valid analogy, a metaphor. But if I lose everything here, not necessarily that is going to create any problem for me because I did not tell anybody. Okay? But I am the president of the United States. Okay, here I'm just playing here so that people do not bother me. So just imagine, as the president of the United States, I have no concern about losing everything here. I have no concern about these small problems, you know. So I have the most powerful position in the world as the president, regardless of left and right. So now, the same way. So I'm living here in this body mind, you know, as a fellow labor or as a politician or even as a president of the United States. We are living in media. Everything here changed. Most of the presidents, they are never remembered before, at least, unless except in a history book. So how I'm going to accept this constant change and decay and appearance and disappearance of everything, including my body, mind, sense complex. So I have to remember and acknowledge and directly get this assessment and knowledge with firm, doubtless conviction of my higher nature. This is not something, it's not a brainwash, a reprogram. Some people think, oh no, it's just a philosophy that you convince yourself that you are eternal. It's something different from reprogramming. You understand? Sometimes I even say you have to reprogram your vasanas. But reprogram your vasanas not for the sake of you saying, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. I repeat it, the parrot. And then now I say, yes, Aham Brahmasmi. No. You have to reprogram your mind, okay, in a way that you have a spiritually wise mind able to do this nididhyasana, which culminates with claiming. And then once you claim with full conviction, and then the shift of sense of identity occurs, and then you have no concern really with regards to what happens to time, space, and your body mind contained in the space and the time. So going back to this funny analogy that came to my mind. So anybody, or even usually the scripture present the beggar playing in a movie, a dramatic movie, and then he loses everything, he becomes a beggar, he suffers everything, but inside he's not a fact because he knows that he's a very wise, very wealthy person, almost like a king. So now the jiva is playing here, suffering from samsara, getting this knowledge. He knows that he's the king of the kings. Okay, that's why it said self-knowledge, the most powerful knowledge, because it's the knowledge of your true nature identity, which is the king of the kings. In Viveka Chudamani, Shankaracharya calls it the jaw, let's say, the crow, the jaw crawl of discrimination. So, yeah. So it's the most precious thing that exists in our body, mind, sense complex is the ability to discriminate and know. Now you know. Knowledge is power. Now you have the knowledge, which is the most powerful knowledge. I am at the nature of Brahman, Satchitananda Brahman. So now I'm not concerned about what happens to the body, mind, sense complex. Instinctively, I try to still protect this. You remember that story, very famous story. There was an ashram, there was a guru there. He was a self-realized Mahatma, many devotees in the forest. And then comes the elephants. You remember the elephants? A bunch of elephants. How you call a bunch of elephants?
A herd.
A herd. Yeah, it's all a herd for everything. No? Not only for the cow and the bull, but to elephants and anything.
I'm not precisely sure, but I think it'll do.
Yeah, it will do. So there is a herd of elephants, and the ground is trembling, and it's coming to the ashram. And then somebody sound the alarm and say, they are come, they are going to destroy everything. And then You know what happened? The guru was the first one to begin running. He was so fast running, 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 running. And then once he found a very strong tree, he climbed the tree and he saved himself. Some devotees died and so on. Later on, they asked, so Swami, you taught us that this is all mithya, this is all an apparent reality, and now we are confused. Are you really a yoni? Yeah. He said, oh, don't get confused. It was my apparent or mithya body mind running from a mithya apparent elephant climbing an apparent tree to apparently save the body mind. Okay? So when we are in mithya, we need to respond as mithya according to the impulse of mithya. Yeah? So the yoni, yeah, is getting this transfer of sense of identity. And then he gets the palan, the bonus, which is a sense that, so I have gained the knowledge of the ultimate reality. This knowledge is the most powerful. This knowledge resolves the problem because no matter what happens to my inferior nature affects what I really am. Huh? So that is the only way out. The problematic for the sickness of samsara is the transfer of sense of identity, because here everything is subject to change and destruction. The person has to search for this transfer of sense of identification from the body mind to consciousness, non-dual consciousness. Otherwise, it will live and die as a samsari. That's why we say, even in Karma Kanda, a person who is religious, who performs rituals, and who goes to higher lokas, even those lokas fall within Detsa Kala. What is Detsa Kala? Perishable?
Desha space, kala time.
Oh, yeah, Desha Kala.
Yeah.
Everything falls within time space. In time space, everything is changing, appearing and disappearing in its due time. Only when Jiva gets to know for sure, for good, the true nature of Nirguna Ishvara, Nirguna Brahman, is going to be holding, firmly retaining that knowledge and the fact that Jiva's nature is identical to Brahman nature. Only then he will be really free from samsara. He's talking about God in its nirguna nature here. But this fact, the majority of people do not know. And they don't even know the benefits of leaning towards my inferior nature as Saguna Ishvara. Being so ignorant, they just hold to finite things and people. And they suffer a lot when they lose it. And the unfortunate thing is that they do not learn, even after time and time of suffering, the losses of life. Thus, Paraprakriti Anyanam, the ignorance in respect to the true nature of Brahman, and also the absence of knowledge in regards to the true nature of Saguna Ishvara, Anyana eva samsaraya, he said. So spiritually, ignorance is the cause of the sickness of samsara. And a lot of the time I start using this expression, spiritual knowledge and the spiritual ignorance. Because when we say self-knowledge and self-ignorance, that is the ultimate knowledge, the knowledge with respect to the nirguna self, nirguna atma. So why did I begin using spiritual ignorance and spiritual knowledge rather than self-knowledge and self-ignorance? Because spiritual knowledge includes the knowledge of the inferior nature of Brahman as Saguna Ishvara, which is the first step. You understand? Complete knowledge is the knowledge in respect to the Saguna nature of God and the Aguna nature of God as the true nature of Saguna nature of Saguna God, which is the same nature of Jagata and Jivas. Okay, so we stop here. And I'm going to tell you one thing. If you guys are interested, we can do class tomorrow and Friday as well. I took care of my tax return. I took care of some other problems here. And nothing makes me happier than just doing what we're doing here. You let me know later on, okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Ishvara. Namaste. We meet again soon. Let me know. Bye bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you.
Okay.